So I'd like to talk about the Casio PRG-30 as someone with a small wrist. Some might say about the size of a stalk of a mushroom, since we're in this hiking Protrek mood here. Now, I've owned this watch for a while, and I want to share 3 pros and 2 cons and just some general comments on this particular watch, because it seems like there are hardly any videos on this watch. Just as a reference, by the way, I have a 6¼ inch or 16 centimeter wrist circumference and a wrist table for about 2 inches. But first, let's talk about the boring stuff, some of the dimensions. So this is as I measured it. From 12 to 6, I got 42 millimeters. Now from 9 to 3, including the little crown here, I got 45 millimeters. From lug to lug, I got 48 millimeters. And in case you're curious, the glass, 33.5 millimeters. And the strap starts at 22.5 and it tapers down to just 18 millimeters. All right, but let's talk about why I bought this. I wanted a Protrek introduction. Now, maybe you're like me and you love Casio watches, but you skipped over Protrek because you thought to yourself, well, I'm not really a hiker. The most walking I do might be up the stairs. And so I had pretty much wrote off the Protrek line completely. On top of that, most of the watches that I did see, even though they looked cool and I thought, oh, maybe I'd hike once a year, they were huge. They were too gigantic for my small wrist, so I pretty much just wrote off the entire line. But I did see that they made some smaller-ish ones, and I thought, oh, maybe I should give that a try. I even thought about the AE 1500, which if you know that watch, it's like this huge digital display watch. But even that watch, I thought, I don't think I can pull that off on my 6¼ inch wrist, way too big. So when I saw this watch, I thought, okay, cool, it has a big digital display. It's hiker-ish, it has some cool features. Yeah, I'll give it a try. All right, so first let's start with the pros. Pro number 1, it's the fit. Now, as someone with a relatively small wrist, I think the fit is perfect, especially when you look from top down. I think even though it's 42 millimeters, I think it works okay. I normally don't wear watches over 40. What I do appreciate about this watch, because I was worried about the strap, I was worried about the band and how long it was going to be, was I really like this keeper. Now, a lot of keepers I've noticed on watches, they kind of stop around here, like towards the middle, which means you got this huge hanging tail. But with this, I've noticed it's able to pretty much go to the top, which means that this tail is tucked in. So again, optically, when I look down on my wrist, there's not this huge tail hanging out for a hiking watch. And I like that it's compact and tight. However, I should mention though that the watch was a little thicker than I had anticipated. So from the top, I think it looks good. And when I've worn it, you know, outdoors and, you know, walking and things like that, it totally does not bother me at all. But from the side view, when I start looking like this, I'm like, huh, it's a little thick. I guess I'm just not used to the watch being like, I don't wear a lot of thick watches because it has a lot of stuff, you know, a lot of features in here they got to pack in, but I'm not used to that. So when I looked at it from the side, I'm like, oh, it's kind of raised up quite a bit, huh? So just something to get used to. Again, I know the dimensions are online, should have known that, but you don't really know until you slap it on your wrist. Again, it's not a big deal for me because I'm looking at my watch this way, like I'm looking at it down this way. I'm not looking at it like on the side. But I did notice that fit-wise, it is some getting used to, and I'm thinking that because all the Protrek watches are kind of the same, if I buy other Protrek watches, it'll probably be the same issue where from the top, looks great. From the side, getting a little chunky like a hockey puck. But overall, I think the fit looks good from the top, and if you got a small wrist, I would not be afraid of these Protreks. All right, and pro number 2, visibility. Now, this is what really attracted me to this watch, is the visibility of the screen. It may not be as huge as the AE 1500, but I will say that the display on this is really nice. I love what is actually featured as well, going from the top to bottom. You got day of the week and date, and that of course can be changed, but I like it being day of the week and the date. The time is right there, as well as the seconds on the bottom. Another nice feature is as you're scrolling through the menu, on some of the menus, the actual time is kept on the bottom, which I think is really nice. And pro number 3, it's comfort. Now, I didn't know what to expect in terms of how comfortable the watch would be. Again, that's not really something you can write about or read about online. You just, oh, okay, it's some kind of biomass resin strap, I guess. I don't know. What does that even mean? But the strap is extremely comfortable. That's one of the things that I noticed. And again, it's passed my sweat test. I was out in 90-degree weather, walking around, and yeah, my wrist gets a little bit sweaty, but I think this strap, this band, it handles it very well. I also want to mention too that it's light on the wrist. It's not a heavy watch. So in comparison to like a metal watch, you know, it's weighty. This one, not so much. And I think for people who are hiking casually, this is gonna be a great watch. And when it comes to comfort, and you know, when I go out hiking too on those occasions once a year or whatever, you know, I'm not a hiker, but I do like the idea of hiking, I guess. But when it comes to this watch, I know it's not gonna hold me down. I'll be able to look at it, I'm gonna be able to wear it, and you know, it's gonna get dirty, which is fine. But it just has a nice look to it, it has a nice feel to it. And as I'm out hiking, I feel like this watch is not gonna be one of those where, oh, so uncomfortable, I gotta, you know, take it off my wrist. I know I'm gonna be able to keep this watch on the entire time. It's gonna be comfortable. And yeah, sure, at the end I might have to wash it down a little bit because it'll get sweaty, but yeah, I think it's great. Oh, but let's talk about the cons. And con number 1, questionable features. Now I'll say that this watch is packed with features. I mean, there's so many things, right? There's the compass, there's the barometer, there's the altimeter. Be honest, as a non-hiker, I'm like, compass, that's cool, but I'm pretty much just following the trail, so it's mostly just, oh, that's interesting. Barometer, temperature might be interesting, but from what I've read online and from even what I've tested, it's not accurate. Like, you have to let the watch kind of sit, and then you can tell what temperature it is because it just reads your wrist. Altimeter, I tried it several times. I don't know how accurate it is. I've tried it from the same place, and I was up, and it gave me different readings every time. I also even tried it on an airplane, and it read in the 4000s. So all that to say, I'm not sure how accurate some of these features are, and that's okay, because I am not using this watch for those reasons. I think if I was a more serious hiker, I probably would, I don't know, maybe I don't want to say I'd lean towards Garmin, but I probably would get a little more expensive watch than this. And I want to make sure that those features are checked and that they are absolutely reliable. Again, that's just based on my own experience. I'm sure other people have tested it. I'm sure it works great. I wish there was a step counter in it, but there's not, that's okay. So I think if you're a serious hiker, maybe not for you, but you know, for most of us, we go hiking, I don't know, once a year, maybe. We talk about hiking, we like it, but we don't actually do hiking. I think this is totally fine. And also just want to mention some other features that I did appreciate that I actually think were good. I like the fact that it's solar, which is nice. I don't have to worry about battery change. And the alarm on this clock works really great. I used it on a recent trip. It was great to wake me up. So I know that those things are really nice features. You know, for the casual person like me, all the fancy compass stuff, you know, I mean, yeah, it's cool. What does that even mean? I don't know what that even means. I don't even know if it's accurate or not, but yeah. All I want to know is the time. Okay, and con number 2, the light button. I will say one of the most important features to me is the light. Okay, I'm a dad. I need to see what time it is at nighttime sometimes. So if I happen to wear this watch when I'm sleeping, I know it's a hiking watch, but I want to wear it, you know, just to try it out, you know, to wear it, change it up a little bit while I sleep. I got to see what time it is at nighttime. Now, there is an automatic light feature that is built in when you turn your wrist and the light turns on. The light button is down here. Now, I will say, maybe it's just me, I'm not used to Protrek, but it is a hard button to push. I mean, the light looks great. I don't know if you can see, let me turn off the light. Yeah, it's a nice light. It works real great, lasts a long time. But I will say the button to turn the light on is very difficult, even for my tiny little small wrist hands. I have a hard time pushing the light, and maybe that's by design. They don't want you knocking the light around and, you know, you waste battery, but it's solar. I wish the light button was easier to push. It is, to me, it's very difficult. For some reason, I keep missing the button. I think what happens is my thumb or my finger, it kind of like slides down, and it catches, like, it just slides down this little slope, and then just, oop, and I end up pushing the strap here. So maybe I gotta aim more towards the white marker. I don't know what it is, but to me, that's a hard light. I get the design of the watch and how it is, and it's probably easier to put the light there rather than off to the side, because this is where all the fancy features are. maybe I'm just used to Casio watches having the light here or here or here, or wherever, you know, depends on the module. But having the light here, I found, is very difficult and very unnatural for me to push. That's an important feature for me, maybe not for other people, but just want to let people know about that. I thought it was a con, and something that I had to get used to, and still I'm getting used to trying to push this button. It's not 100% for me. I'm like, you know, I'm like maybe 70%, 80% maybe, like success rate in hitting the light button. But still that 20% or so, I'm like, oh gosh, I wish it would just turn on. Okay, now just some closing thoughts on the PRG-30. I think it's a really good introduction to the Protrek line. I'm glad that I bought this one. There were other watches that I saw that I was like, ooh, those are nice, but I really want to try this one. It's relatively affordable in terms of the Protrek line, but more importantly, it was the size. There's not a lot of videos on YouTube that talk about the PRG-30, and so I hope this video just helps people to see like what the watch would look like, you know, on their wrist, especially if they have a smaller wrist. And I think that's really what's missing with a lot of the Protrek line. Is there's so much YouTube stuff about the Casio Classic watches or G-Shocks, but not a lot on the Protrek line. And I wish that Casio would like try to like help stir that up to make, you know, to help people make more videos about the Protrek line, because what I'm finding now is, although again, I'm not a serious hiker, I go to the beach, I do hike occasionally, but I'm outside a lot. And so now I feel like I can wear like a hiking watch to go like walking, or, you know, to you know, go playground with my kids or something like that. And it's a cool outdoorsy watch to have. And as I look down, I can imagine myself, you know, going hiking and you know, doing all the active things. But still, like this watch in particular, I think it's great for a small wrist. If you're looking for a relatively large digital display with solar, and it's an outdoorsy watch, hiking, all that gives you that option to do that. Yeah, it has some nice features. I think they're kind of gimmicky. They don't really apply to me, probably to other people who are more serious about climbing. But I think the watch is absolutely great for that. And again, it's the size. That is what I think should be promoted on this one. It's a small hiking watch. It's a small digital display watch. That's relatively big. The numbers are pretty big, but the watch is not huge. And I think I think it's like a hidden gem for people with small wrists. So yeah, I would recommend this for people with small wrists who are thinking about hiking, or at least they might go once a year. But I like this watch. I think it's great, and I look forward to bringing it out the next time I actually do go hiking. So thanks for watching.